Trade talks are intensifying as an insider has revealed a major update on one of the Pittsburgh Penguins goaltenders. We're going to break that down in this episode, as well as multiple other updates as it pertains to the Pittsburgh Penguins ahead of the start of next season. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Penguins Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the Pittsburgh Penguins, because I feel like it's about to get pretty crazy this month before the season starts, hit that subscribe button so we can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins. But Nick, we got a lot to get to today. We have a new report from an insider and a little bit of an update as it pertains to Tristian Jarry and his future as a Pittsburgh Penguin, because let's be honest, it's definitely up in the air at this point because they're making some moves. So you can see this from Josh, who's been writing a lot in The Athletic this summer for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and a lot of different things going on. What's happening with Rust? What's happening with Raquel? All of these things. Well, what's happening with Tristian Jarry? They just traded for Artur Shilovs. They have Joel Blomqvist. They have a plethora of goaltenders, it seems, at this point, coming through the pipeline. And there are rumors and reports that they're going to trade for another one from the Toronto Maple Leafs. But nonetheless, I digress. He said, I'd still say there's a 75 to 80% chance he's on the team on opening night. Now, keep in mind, that's not 100%, right? So they're certainly willing to move him. I haven't heard of any teams being interested. And I have to be honest, Nick, I'm going to throw it over to you now for your thoughts. But the last part there, I haven't heard of any teams being interested. I'm not entirely surprised by that based on his performance last season. But it does sound like the plan at some point is to move off of Tristian Jarry and not have him finish his contract with the Penguins, because again, by every advanced metric, analytic, whatever you want to call it, didn't have a great season last year, and I don't know if he's the future of goaltending for this team.
Well, Darius, he's obviously not the future of goaltending for this team, but he might be the present. The way things are looking, unfortunately, for Penguins fans, and maybe fortunately for Penguins fans, depending on how they want the season to go. He was obviously superbly bad last year. Didn't have good stats at all, as you can see, 8-9-3 and only 36 games, and he did end up getting sent down to the baby Penguins down in Wilkes-Barre, so not great there. And again, like you said, no teams are interested. You have to wonder why, because the contract is over $5 million and the save percentage is well below 900. It's really not surprising that no teams want him, and I don't think the Penguins want to retain on this deal, because I think they do want to retain on other deals like Erik Karlsson, because they could get more value for that. If you retain on Jarry, you're just getting like any value at all. I don't think it makes sense for them to do that. And you know what? I think for them, the best thing they can do, as we know, Blomqvist didn't have a strong NHL season last year as well. I think you can put him in the minors and have him start a lot of games down there, and then go. I originally thought it was going to be a Shilovs Blomqvist tandem. Obviously, that's not the case. Given that Josh Owie is saying he's going to be on the team, I think he means the NHL team opening night. There's still, you know what? If you look at his history, there's still a good goaltender in there. There has been at some points. So I don't see a reason. He's a career 909, so there's something there. So, you know what? If I'm the Penguins, I think the Penguins have a super strong forward group. Probably too good of a forward group for how they want to be next season. Their defense is still okay. But I think Jarry could come in and play better than he did last season. And then you can slowly increase his trade value. And then you know what you can do later on? You can trade him, because you can convince teams who are desperate that he's actually solid. And then you can bring Blomqvist out of the AHL. He probably needs a little bit more time to develop down there. Have Shilovs as the backup. I think he's, if you look at all the stats, he's like maybe too good for the AHL, but not ready to be an NHL starter yet. So I think it makes sense to just play Jarry. And if he's bad, the Penguins, I think they want to be bad anyway. So, you know what? There is some diamonds in the rough to be found with the Tristian Jarry situation. I'm just curious if you think the Penguins should operate from that sort of system of being a reclamation, then trade your own player type of situation, Darius.
Yeah, absolutely at this point, because I think that it's going to be very difficult, as is right now, like Josh is predicting, to trade Tristian Jarry right now, because I don't see many teams being interested in him besides one, and that is the Edmonton Oilers. And there's been a lot of rumblings about that they need a goaltender. I don't know if Tristian Jarry is the answer for them at that cap hit, but and like you said, if he was making $3 million and he's hovering around a 900 save percentage, which is basically league average at this point, I think you're okay with it. But he's making over $5 million. It's a little bit of a problem. Again, the Oilers are rumored to be interested in Tristian Jarry at this point. You brought up an interesting point too, that there might still be a really good goalie in there somewhere. It was a really bad year for him. He struggled at times. He did actually look really good in the AHL. He found his confidence again and came back up, right? He won 4 games down there. But this is from 2 seasons ago. And Mike Ruppney said that Tristian Jarry is in the Vezina conversation. Now, you might laugh about it now, but at some point, people were saying coming off of 2022, this is a really good goaltender heading into the future. And he kind of lost it last season. But I think that, like you brought up, there could still be something there. So it's pretty interesting. Now, in terms of trading the player and shedding cap is not an issue for the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. You have $13 million in cap space. And if you're to trade off Erik Karlsson, I would imagine, like you brought up, there's going to be some retained salary, and that's totally fine because you're going to be freeing up salary anyway. But it gets very interesting with the rest of the goaltenders. And like you mentioned, Artur Shilovs, I mean, he's shown flashes of what he can do in the NHL, especially in the playoffs. In the AHL, I feel like his work is done in the AHL. He's won a Calder Cup at this point. His statistics speak for themselves. He's fantastic. So I think the next step is to be, and this is why they acquired him, to be the backup goaltender in the NHL. Leave Blomqvist down there to kind of develop with the baby Penguins and kind of, get his confidence up. Become an NHL starter at some point. Of course, they have Miroshov down there as well. He looks like he's going to be a fantastic goaltender. So what do you make of this situation? Do you think that they got Shilovs to come in and be the backup for Tristian Jarry? Do you think the plan is at some point, barring Tristian Jarry completely falling off the face of the earth with some of his statistics this season, to trade Tristian Jarry, have Shilovs come in as the starter, Blomqvist comes in as the backup kind of thing? Because to me, Shilovs has to be in the NHL this year, and I feel like they got him for a reason because they believe that he will be a starter in the NHL.
I think when they look at the starter position, I think Kyle Dubas learned a lot in his time in Toronto, that you can't always be fully starter backup.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the tandem method in the regular season especially seems to prove to be the best. Of course, you do have your cases where, the starting goalie is making a lot of money and the backups, making league min, but he's serviceable. You see that in Tampa Bay or Florida or Winnipeg, teams like that. But I think the Penguins, what they should do, if Yarry's not great, he hasn't been great last year, give him less games in the NHL, tandem him with Shilovs, give Shilovs some run, but also don't make Shilovs the permanent starter. And then I think a natural cycle is just hopefully Jarry can put up a 901, a 902 save, and then you can worry about trading him later into the season when teams are kind of know more where they are with their goaltending situation. And then once that happens, I think you can put Shilovs in that starter position, I guess, and then bring Blomqvist off. Obviously, it all depends on how he's doing in the AHL. Like, in my opinion, if he's doing really, really good in the AHL and has a lot of confidence down there, he's being consistent, maybe you get a goalie back in the Tristian Jarry trade to give Shilovs more run and keep Blomqvist in the AHL. I think the Penguins are at a point where there's really no need to rush anybody, in my opinion. I think, they're in it for the long haul here, no matter what you think about their older forwards. I know there were some reports about, a Malkin farewell season. There's obviously, Sidney Crosby's birthday's today. He's a year older. So there's a lot of moving parts there, but there's a lot of time. As you know, this was a huge thing in Toronto. When Kyle Dubas worked under Lou Lamoriello. If you have time, you should use it. And I think Kyle Dubas is going to do that with the goaltending situation. It's an extremely important position. You have to take a lot of time with it. So in my opinion, the way I see the cycle going is Jarry and Shilovs tandem it this year. See what you have with both of them, because that's going to be important going to the trade deadline and throughout the season. And I think ideally you want to move off Jarry eventually and then see how Blomqvist is doing in the HL at that point as well. And then maybe get a goalie back. You do Shilovs, you do that goalie. Or, if you're confident in what Blomqvist can do, bring him up, tandem them as well, because, you're not expecting to make the playoffs. You can give these guys more run, more reps. In my opinion, that's the way they should go about it in terms of just getting the best out of their goalies and developing them properly into the future.
And I think that's the plan right now. As we heard from Josh, it would be very difficult to trade Tristian Jarry right now. So I feel like that is the plan. And like you said, if you have time, use it. The Penguins are not going to become a contender overnight all of a sudden. Will they be back in the playoffs in 2 years or 3 years? I think it's possible. But, like you said, Sidney Crosby's not getting any younger. You have to take your time with the goaltending position league-wide. We've seen it at this point, right? So you have to continue to do that. So I do think Tristian Jarry will start the year with the team, But whether he finishes the year, and definitely next summer, I think things are going to get very interesting for not just Jarry, but the rest of the Penguins team. That's when things will really, really heat up. So it's going to be interesting. And like you mentioned, just want to tease it, we will definitely have another video on Evgeni Malkin, because there's some stuff coming out about that heading into this season as well. So we'll have a video on that. But let us know how you feel in the comments. Would you stay with Tristian Jarry as the starting goaltender of the Pittsburgh Penguins? Would you trade him right now for anything? Would you trade him at the trade deadline? Let us know how you feel, because I feel like there could be some interest at the trade deadline. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins.